Problem. Okay. It's time to take some drastic action. 40 parts water, 1 part liquid soap, not dishwashing liquid. You don't want to strip the waxy coating off the plant and damage it. You spray from the bottom to the top. From the top to the bottom, make sure you get lots of it around the plant on the ground as well. Give it 10 minutes and then spray the whole thing just from your garden hose with clear water. Rinse everything off. That should get them under control. Do that 3 times over a 10-day period. You're probably going to get some repeats coming back. And if the initial soap and water treatment doesn't take care of the eggs, you'll get rehatches. So doing it like today, 5 days later, and then 10 days later than now, you will cover that rehatch situation.
Okay, Patricia, good luck to you. Brian, you're next. Where are you calling us from?
Hello.
Hi, Brian.
Yes, Brian here from Madoc, Ontario.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for having me, accepting my call. I got a question about a willow tree that I got probably 4 or 5 years ago. Actually had 2. One died, so it's out of the picture, but the other one wasn't doing well, so I cut the top of it off, and now it's growing nicely for the past 3 years or so, but it's growing from the side, the nice branches, but I've had an issue with caterpillars. Will a caterpillar kill my willow tree, and is there anything I can do to prevent them from hanging out on my willow tree?
Usually the damage is only cosmetic. The attack lasts just long enough for the caterpillars to go on to the next stage in their life cycle. If you've got an awful lot of them and can get out and pick them, or the Armstrong method between the thumb and forefinger with a quick squeeze. If you're squeamish, put on some rubber gloves or plastic gloves.
Well, I certainly have killed a lot of them.
Okay, that's a plus. It's what you're doing is taking the population down and giving. From eating willow trees, they're not going to have a headache when you do it. The salix typically gives us the acetylsalicylic acid, which is aspirin. What kind of willow do you have?
Oh, the actual name, I don't know. I just assumed they were all the same, like a weeping willow tree.
Oh, it is a weeping willow. Okay, that's Babylonica. Not a native, but certainly has become pretty much indigenous now. We find it everywhere, and it does spread pretty easily. That being said, if you have multi-stems coming up, your tree is going to look a little awkward as a shrub. So you might want to select 1 or 2 stems that are the strongest and let them come on. The others that you cut off, you can stick them in water and root them up. The instructions we got in college in terms of propagating willows were if you took a willow cutting and threw it over your left shoulder, as long as it landed, it would probably root. They're fairly easy. So you could have more with little problem.
Okay, Brian, good luck to you. That was Brian in Madoc with a willow tree. That's a funny little story, but they say that about rhubarb as well, not quite as prolific as willow trees.
Well, some of us have problems with both of them, Rita, so, not everything works 100% of the time.
Jennifer, you're next. You're also calling us from Ottawa. What's your question for Ed Lawrence?
Good afternoon, Ed. I have a 25-foot cedar hedge in my backyard, which affords my family and I a great deal of privacy. Unfortunately, it did not get trimmed for about 3 years, and it's now so sparse that I can see into my neighbor's backyard, and it appears dead inside. I'm very worried that I'm going to lose the hedge, and also the wildlife and the many birds that use it for shelter. Is there anything I can do to get my hedge back to good health?
Yes. First and foremost, make sure it's getting watered to keep it growing. But do that after you do the pruning. And what you prune off, by the way, works quite nicely as a mulch around the bottom. I see people trimming cedar hedges and then going out to get cedar bark or pine chips to put underneath them. put the trimmings underneath. It works beautifully as a mulch. Go gently. Bring the sides back in gradually. If it's died out in the middle, it's because there's not enough light, or there hasn't been enough light over time with it growing out and not being pruned. There hasn't been enough light to sustain growth in the middle, and the hedge, the trees individually, are cutting their losses. If you're not working photosynthesizing, producing sugars for us, then we're not going to feed you. That well may come back inside. Don't count on it. Prune back so you have green on the outside edge. Don't go further than where there's growth. So prune back, bring the top down, and if you can do both sides, it's obviously better, but if you're only doing your side, the neighbor's side is still going to be growing wild, and whoever's closest to the sun is going to get the greatest results. If the sun is on the neighbor's side of the hedge, talk with them, go over and do the pruning on their side and clean things up. Be careful while you're there. It's all about good neighborly relations, and they are accommodating you to do your hedge.
Okay, Jennifer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye. 1-888-817-8995. Again, a reminder that online there are 4 other gardeners available to you. You can find that through our Twitter feed, or go to CBC Hamilton. Our colleagues at CBC there manage all this, and it's a gardening web chat. It's exclusive just for the summer, so a few more weeks where you can get that one-on-one kind of advice that you're hearing also with Ed Lawrence here on the radio. Norma, you're calling in Thunder Bay. What kind of weather have you guys been having last few days?
Oh, very hot weather and humid. Although I think we're going to get a break somewhere in the next day or so.
So what are you calling about?
I have a ficus, a big tree, whatever you want to call it. It's about 3.5, 4 feet tall and 2 or 3 feet wide. I've had it for 10 or 12 years at least. And the leaves are sticky, falling off. They're actually kind of weeping onto the floor. And I looked it up online, and the only thing that was recommended was neem oil, which I don't seem to be able to find up here. Is that a recommended treatment?
It's a pretty good insecticide. There's no question, and it's organic. And if you're not seeing anything, are you seeing little specks of yellow in the leaves, like a mottled effect across the leaf? Somebody's eating in there. I'm just trying to figure out who it is, and who it is determines the treatment. Sometimes they come in with scale, and that will give you the honeydew that drips all over the floor. Aphids would do the same thing, but they're pretty easy to spot, and they're not crazy about ficus. Generally, red spiders, on the other hand, they increase as a geometric progression when the temperature increases. So if this is picked up in the hot weather of late, I'm thinking it's them. Get the plant outside into a shady area. Rinse the whole thing off with the hose will be a start. But if you mixed up 40 parts water, 1 part liquid soap, and sprayed from the bottom to the top to the bottom. Make sure it gets in all the crevices and cracks along the bark, and you will also dissolve most of the honeydew that's there.